Sorry if the camera here is a little bit shaky. I'm literally holding my laptop. Hey, production schedules, you got to do what you can when you can. So, in terms of criminal justice literature, today we are discussing one of the big knishes, I call it, of criminal justice and criminology, specifically a book that gets into the correction side of things. And that is In the Belly of the Beast, actually a very important book, sold like wildfire at one point. Little bit of stage setup for this book. Norman Mailer was writing a book called The Executioner's Song, which is essentially about Gary Gilmore, a man given to the death sentence who decided since he was sentenced to death, he wanted no appeals and just to get on with it. Several organizations appealed on his behalf anyways, which is a separate thing. But the person who wrote In the Belly of the Beast, that is Jack Henry Abbott, Stone Cold Killer, sort of made himself into a master of literature and philosophy studies all throughout his years in prison. He read a lot of books. He talks all about how prisoners can obtain books and stuff like that. And you certainly see in this book a very well-written man. The book is, to its core, other than for the foreword and introduction, it is letters that Jack Henry Abbott wrote Norman Mailer about prison. They both Norman Mailer and Jack Henry Abbott at one point were employed by the same company. That is the New York Review of Books. Because Norman Mailer, of course, is, a world-renowned author. Jack Henry Abbott, though, would submit correspondence from prison. So he started to send correspondence to Norman Mailer to try to get the violence in prison right. And the book created a sensation and a stir, and it actually may have helped Jack Henry Abbott, who, I forget what he was initially sentenced for, but his sentence kept on getting extended because it was an indeterminate sentence. It was to not run less than a few years, number of years, but then it was not determined when it would end. So, a good, for instance, would be no fewer than 9 years with, the parole board coming up. But he killed somebody when he was in prison. He may have killed a few people. Says it was self-defense, but we have only his word on that. So what you get in here is a very scathing indictment of the criminal justice system. And this book became popular, and actually his friendship with Norman Mailer probably helped him secure a release from the parole board. He was out only about 6 weeks before, instead of killing inmates in prison, he wanted to kill just normal citizens, people who were free. And he did just that killed a waiter who disrespected him some way, somehow. In summation, the man is just a heartless thug and sociopathic murderer. He is from Michigan, Oscoda, Michigan, actually, and he was deceased 2002. He complains about, prison turned me into this brutal person. He spent most of his life behind bars. Even as a delinquent, he was bad news. He's the exception in humanity that proves the rule of there needing to be a place that locks people away for the rest of their natural lives. He would not and could not really reform. Sorry if this is a bit shaky here. Well written, though. I'm not going to say this man does not have some interesting insights. And he certainly is as well read as he claims to be. He made use of that time. So I would say definitely as a classic of criminal justice, you should check this out. You can certainly do far worse.